So who are the chosen ones? I'm sure you've heard that expression before, and maybe like me, you've had a little bit of a about that terminology, the chosen ones, because doesn't it sound like maybe a group of elitist people or some special ones or another way for spiritual folks to make themselves stand out in a crowd? Well, I'm going to describe to you who the chosen ones are, and I wonder if you're going to recognize yourself in this. I wonder if you're going to realize through the video that the chosen ones are not what you might think they are. We're going to go through how many? I've got a list in front of me of 11. 11 pointers, 11 signs that are going to show you if you're falling into this category. When you hear them, they're all going to make sense to you, but wait till the end, because at the end I want to talk to you about who chose the damn chosen ones. If you're a chosen one, who chose you? And if you're not a chosen one, why aren't you a chosen one? And are these just a special group of people? Okay. The chosen ones are what some would call the 144,000. The 144,000 is actually a frequency. It's not a number of beings. The 144,000 is a frequency that exists within our DNA. We're going to come back to DNA towards the end of the conversation, but let me give you these pointers. 11. See if you can tick them off and how many. Let me know in the comments below. Are you 1 out of 11? Are you 10 out of 11? Are you 6 out of 11? Okay, you don't belong. Number one, you just don't belong. You have that feeling like there is nowhere for you to belong to. And belonging is always a very difficult thing because we can almost put our edges up about it. You know, when you get to the stage of like, I don't care that I don't belong. I don't want to belong. Belonging is not for me. We're almost a little bit super defensive about it. And we are covering up a deep insecurity of, geez, I really don't belong. And it's a really true sense. It's not your imagination. You honest to God really truly don't belong because you don't belong to the false matrix. That's what's happening. You, if you're part of this group of beings, you would have been born to the false matrix and gone, what the hell am I doing in this place? You would have felt like there was a great mistake. You would have felt like almost an anxious feeling, like something's gone horribly wrong and I got on the wrong bus or God got the wrong memo, but I've landed up in the wrong place. It's because your entry into the false matrix feels like oil and water. It feels like I just don't belong here. So point number 2, very connected to that, is about home. The chosen ones often have a feeling of longing for home, homesickness, and home issues. Like, for most of my life, you guys, many of you will know the story if you've listened to me for long enough. I've been homeless. I've had so many issues around home. I have had the most horrendous landlords that you would think it's not really possible for one person to consistently get such rotten landlords. There must be something wrong with her. But really, these were astounding circumstances that all led me to the same conclusion, and that is, I've got no home. I got no home. Again, it's a carry through of that first feeling of I don't belong, but actually it's something deeper. It's that the memory of home is stored inside of you. It's almost like a signal, like a homing device inside of you. And it's going beep, 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 looking for home, looking for home, looking for home. And every time you look for a literal physical home here on planet Earth, you're going to come up empty, because there is that clarion call inside of you that is so loud. And no, you know, this is, well, a bit funny for me. When I've spoken about the clarion call before, people have said like, oh, I've got a ringing in my ears. Is that the clarion call? You guys, it's not like a literal clarion call. It's an inner feeling. Okay, so just to be clear about that one, home is the second point. The third point is, and this is all carry throughs, so similar themes, you're going to pick this up. You're different and you don't fit in, and you just can't behave like everybody else. You can't be like them. So it's kind of like where there's social norms and you'll walk into a group and go, they all seem to speak the same language, but I don't. So there's this feeling of, I just wish that I could blend a little bit more. Point number 4, self-conscious. feeling like you don't belong, and all of these experiences of the chosen ones leaves a person feeling very raw and almost feeling like everyone's looking at me. Everyone's looking at me, and I wish that they wouldn't. So it kind of amplifies all of the other points like, oh God, I wish that I did belong and I wish that I did fit in. There's this terrible self-consciousness where you'll hear yourself speaking and think, oh, how is everybody hearing me? So a pervasive insecurity. Point number 5, standing out like a sore thumb. Have you noticed that the more you try to blend in, the more you try to fit in, the more you stand out like a sore thumb, and you just keep it's kind of like the harder you try to blend in, fit in, and belong, the more outcast you're going to feel. And by the way, those feelings are going to be very prevalent for you. Outcast, rejected, even abandoned, craving invisibility. That's point number 6. Point number 6, to crave invisibility. Like, I don't want to stand out like a sore thumb. I just want to blend into the background. I want to be a wallflower. So you'll find that chosen ones have spent a tremendous amount of time trying to be small, trying to be invisible, trying to not stand out and be noticed. There's a very, very interesting dynamic where people do their best to become invisible by some really self-destructive behaviors. People hold such deep unconscious, subconscious coding that says, oh, listen, dropouts, they're not important, they're ignored by society. So people who want to be invisible can quite easily fall into levels of self-sabotage. Obesity is another one. People don't pay attention to fat people, so I'll just be a fat person and then nobody will pay attention to me. But of course, it's almost ironic that these are the very things that will make people pay more attention to you, right? Because now you really have nowhere to hide. Now you're standing out more and more and more. It's kind of like this feeling like you've got a shining neon pimple on the end of your nose. Point number 7, trauma. Oh my gosh. The chosen ones are like magnets when it comes to trauma. Chosen ones have truly taken on what some would call a really difficult path, a karmic path. Some will have mistakenly believed, oh, it's because I've got a lot of lessons to learn. Oh, it's because I've got a lot of karma to pay off. It's actually none of these things. This trauma that the chosen ones take on is actually because the chosen ones hold a frequency that they're trying to not be picked up on. They're trying to keep this frequency hidden. The chosen ones hold an undeniable frequency that sets them apart from everybody else. And there's this knowing at the soul level that says, look, if I show up on planet Earth as a light being, if I show up, I'm going to set off all the alarm bells. I'm going to let the archons know. I'm going to let the false matrix know that there is a being on planet Earth that they need to get rid of, because I will eventually become a threat to the false matrix, because that, my loves, is what the chosen ones are. The chosen ones will so often, part of this trauma thing is have betrayals, have friends turn on them. And they'll think almost like, is it me? Do I smell? What did I do? Why does everybody kind of turn their back on me or use me or betray me? This is very much kind of part of that whole trauma package that comes with being a chosen one. And the reason why is because chosen ones have this deep-seated fear of being found out. Oh, it's massive. They have this deep feeling like, I'm very wrong, I'm very bad, and I just have to cover up. Whatever it is I've done, I don't remember, I can't make logical sense of it, it must be something. And so they're always trying to hide, they're always trying to cover up, they're always trying to evade when there's nothing to evade. And a big thing for chosen ones to remember is their innocence. Huge. There's a course on my website called Beyond Forgiveness. It's a 6-week course, and it delves deep into the theme of forgiveness, and it shows you forgiveness in a way you've never seen before. So check if you feel called. innocence, if you want to explore what your innocence is and feels like and how to step into it, maybe that course is calling you. Go and have a look and let your intuition guide you. All of this is going to bring about sensitivity, right? So that is point number 8, a deep sensitivity. That's part of what trauma does. And it's also part of being a chosen one, because chosen ones are going to be very empathic. So sensitive at the emotional level, but sensitive at the energetic level. It works both ways. It's not a bad thing. A lot of people look at empathy as a curse, but it's really a blessing, because a chosen one is always going to be able to see beyond the surface, see beyond what their first impression is, and see beyond what a person is saying, almost see through what a person is saying. So that's the sensitivity. But yes, the chosen one will think, oh God, everything's about me, and they will feel like a person can just give them a little look, which might be, you know, a look of, I'm not even paying attention to you, quite frankly. But the chosen one will misinterpret that because of their levels of sensitivity and go, oh, they hate me, right? So it's very difficult to live with such deep levels of sensitivity. Now start combining that with the rest of the points that I've given you, you know, feeling like you don't belong and feeling like an outcast and all of these things. You can start to see it's creating a bigger picture of a specific kind of person that holds a specific kind of frequency. Number 9. The chosen one will feel like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. They will tend towards feeling tremendous burden. They will tend towards feeling a tremendous sense of responsibility, and they will tend towards relationships where they become the responsible one. Whether they're emotionally responsible or financially responsible, they tend to carry so much. Now, on one hand, that's because they are leaders. The chosen ones are leaders, and they're trying so hard to be invisible. They're so convinced that they've done something wrong. They don't think of themselves as leaders, but the chosen ones honestly are. Now, for some of you, you may be hearing me use this word repeatedly, the chosen ones, the chosen ones. And I wonder what that feels like, because I have no doubt that some of you are going to have the same response and reaction that I did, which was, oh God, that just the terminology, it sounds like somebody trying to make themselves special. So just pay attention to what that feels like. Others of you, it's going to be like a duck to water. It's going to be like, oh yeah, that chosen one. Yeah, that makes sense. So burden, responsibility, weight of the world on your shoulders. That was number 9. Number 10, a skipped childhood. It's kind of like you were born and then you were an adult, in the sense that you didn't get to be a child. You didn't get to be immature. You would have been born into a family where some kind of circumstance, obviously everybody had different circumstances, different parents, different upbringings, but there would have been something in your childhood that would have forced you into an emotional maturity before you were ready. And that emotional maturity, for some chosen ones, they'll say things like, I feel like my childhood was robbed from me. I feel like I didn't just get to be a kid. I didn't get to relax into being a child. And for some people, it's not even that something happened. You know, it's just, I've always felt that way. Number 11. Oh, this is an interesting one. I wonder if this one applies to you. Number 11, having a weird talent, a weird talent, like being skilled in a strange way. A lot of chosen ones are very attention to detail kind of people, or they have some kind of exceptional something about them, some kind of exceptional skill. They generally tend to downplay it. And that's the irony about the chosen ones. The chosen ones don't want to stand out. That's why I say to you, just check in with yourself. Just hearing those words, what does it sound like? So that you can see your own response. And a lot of the time, yeah, chosen ones just don't want to be seen, don't want to be visible, don't want to be known, don't want to stand out. They've got a coding in them that says, I can't be found out by the false matrix, because they came in with a purpose and a mission, and it's to be activated. When the time was right, which is now, which is pretty much from 2012 into where we are right now. That's why there were so many mass spiritual awakenings that took place from around about 2012. Now, yes, some people were undertaking their awakening process way before 2012. Others, like myself, were born and never really had a moment of awakening. They were just kind of born that way. But nonetheless, there's this feeling of the false matrix mustn't see me, because they held a frequency and a purpose that is specifically here to bring home back to planet Earth. Home is not a place. Home is a frequency. It's a state of being. And that frequency and state of being is the organic universe, the divine matrix. If we have a false matrix, then the divine matrix refers to that organic universe outside of the false matrix, which is God's original creation template. And the chosen ones are here to bring home here. That's their purpose. They carry something in their DNA. It's that 144,000 encoding. And the encoding is kind of like a irrepressible frequency that's going to keep awakening them. And the interesting things about the chosen ones is many of them try to almost thwart their own awakening. They try to talk themselves out of their own awakening. They try to talk themselves out of going deeper into their awakening. Some of them have got a lot of almost that fear of the witch hunt, the fear of don't let anybody know that I'm spiritual. So they land up dimming their light. And there was a time that they needed to. There was a time that the chosen ones needed to be in hiding, but it's not now. Pretty much from 2012, this is not the time for the chosen ones to be in hiding. This is the time for the chosen ones to truly emerge. So who chose the chosen ones? Isn't that the biggest question, right? Who chose the chosen ones? You did. You chose. That's what it means to be a chosen one. It means I elected. I chose. There were a group of really high frequency beings. And if you're listening to this still, and you've listened to those 11 points and all the chatter that I shared with you about those 11 points, and you would have heard within that chatter, there were actually more points that I didn't even delineate, but nonetheless, that whole ramble about who the chosen ones are, their predispositions. If you identified yourself in there, you didn't have to have every single one as a tick, 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 just at least half, right? The chosen ones were a group of highly evolved souls that saw what was going on in the false matrix and said, not on my watch. But they also realized that they couldn't change the false matrix from outside the false matrix. The false matrix was set up so ingeniously that higher frequency couldn't permeate or penetrate. So these higher frequency beings were essentially powerless to effect change within the false matrix. The only way that we could do it was to come in as a human being. So the shock of coming into the human form is huge, because you are this high frequency, very evolved being coming into the earth plane. Imagine the shock of what the hell am I doing here? And you have to be a human being. By the way, if you hear that, I wonder if it's going to pick up on my microphone. I've got a new lapel mic. I've got these noisy birds outside. They're called hardy-daws. It's a African ibis. Gosh, they are the bane of my recording time. I love them. They're just really, it's like the moment I record, they seem to find me. Anyway, so the chosen ones were this group of highly evolved beings. They came into this planet because they knew that from the outside, their frequency wasn't going to permeate through the false matrix. From the outside, the false matrix was set up like a quarantine zone. The only ones that could effect change were the ones inside the false matrix. So the chosen ones chose to come into the false matrix, to hold a frequency in their DNA that was going to prevent them from being totally mind wiped, that was going to prevent them from being totally unplugged. But there was a danger. And the danger was that they would come online too early. That's why they created the trauma. That's why they created all of the circumstances in their life, essentially to keep themselves hidden. That was part of the mechanism of coming in as a chosen one. They needed to stay in a kind of an energetic hiding so that they weren't discovered. pre-2012. 2012 was really a marking point. That was the big shift. That's when the galactics cleared our skies, and that's where the only part of the false matrix that was left to crumble, essentially, was the part that was left on the surface. And that was always going to be for the human beings to do. The part that we couldn't reach, which was out in the cosmic field, that is what the galactics supported us in dismantling. So the dismantling on the surface is ours to do, and we dismantle from within. That's the role of the chosen ones. They are the spiritual warriors who are not here to fight anything. A warrior, people hear this word warrior. Somebody on TikTok once said to me, "Oh, Kerry, you mustn't talk about spiritual warriors because it sounds like gangsters." I don't know how they put that together, but no, a warrior is not a gangster. A warrior is a being of courage. And it's the courage to face yourself. That's really what makes a chosen one successful in their path. The chosen ones have such a strong calling right now. So there is a sense of, I've got to do something. Please don't confuse your actual calling, which is, I've got to be. Not I've got to do, I've got to be that which I already am. So I have to allow the frequency that I already am to be activated now. In a sense, that tendency to want to do something is going to take you off your path. It's going to scatter your energy, and it's going to put your focus outside of you. Your focus needs to be really inside of you. My trilogy of 3, stillness, connection, and presence, the secret to enlightenment. Learn about it in the Plasma Light Tribe. If you're not a member already, you're welcome to join. That's where I teach the work that I'm talking about today. My job here on social media is to give you this information for free from my heart, the deeper working of this information. Join the Plasma Light Tribe if you feel called to work at that level. So are you a chosen one? I'd love to know. Let me know the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What did you resonate with the most from my heart all the way to yours? I hold you in so much love, chosen one. And if you want to know more about the false matrix, I'll put a video for you just over there.